You have heard of Dehradun, the famous hill station of Mussoorie. It's located in the Dehradun Valley in the state of Uttarakhand, as shown over here. The longitudinal lines that lies between the Himachal and Shivalik are known as dunes. That's how the most famous valleys are formed, including Dehradun, Kotli Dun, and Patli Dun. Kotli Dun is located at Jammu region. You must all have heard about Jim Corbett National Park. This park is located in the Patli Dun region. The Himalayas are also divided into regions from east to west. Let's look at the demarcation between the rivers valley. Let's look at some example of these divisions. First, let's consider the area between Indus and Satluj. This area is traditionally known as Punjab. Nanga Parbat is the highest peak in the Punjab. However, on the basis of the regional divisions of the Himalayas, locally it is also called Kashmir in the west and Himachal Himalaya in the east. Let's take another example. The Kumaon Himalayas is the name used regionally for the portion of Himalayas between Satluj and Kali river. Nanda Devi is the highest peak in this region. Similarly, the area that lies between the Kali river and the Tista river is known as the Nepal Himalayas. The Assam Himalayas refer to the region between Tista and the Dihang rivers. As we move east, we come to the division of Himalayas called the Purvanchal Hills. All the eastern hill and the mountains are Purvanchal Hills. The Brahmaputra formed the easternmost boundaries of the Purvanchal region. The Brahmaputra breaks through the Himalayas to form some deep valleys or gorges. One such valley is Arunachal Pradesh in the Dihang Gorge. Beyond the Dihang Gorge, the Purvanchal Hills deep sharply southwards and stretch out along the eastern boundaries of India. Thus, the Purvanchal Hill extend to the north eastern states of India. The main components of Purvanchal Hill is sedimentary rocks. The Purvanchal range is made up of Patkai Hills, Naga Hills, Manipur Hills and Mizo Hills. The northern plain is located at the southern part of the Himalayan range. The plain is formed from the floodplains of three big river systems, that is, the Indus, the Ganga and the Brahmaputra. Based on the names of this river system, the northern plain is also called Indo-Gangetic Plain. The alluvial from these river systems was deposited in the vast basin at foothills of the Himalayas over millions of years. These deposits built up the present-day fertile northern plain. The plain stretches the area of a small country. Can estimate the area of the plain. The area of the plain is about 7 lakh square kilometers. The width of this plain varies as you go north to south. The width of this plain varies as you go north to south. At its narrowest, it stretches across 240 kilometers, and its widest, it stretches across 320 kilometers. The length of the plain is 2400 kilometers long. As mentioned earlier, the soil cover in this plain is rich and fertile, and water is found in plenty. Combined with the favorable climate for growing several major crops, the northern is one of the world's most intensive farmed areas. Therefore, it is not surprising to note that the northern plain is a very densely populated physiographic divisions of India. Did you know? Not just in India, the northern plain is one of the most populated areas on earth. Let's come back to the river system that helped in the formation of the northern plains. The rivers coming from the northern mountains carry a huge load of eroded soil particles. As a river flows down towards the plains, due to the gentle slopes, its force decreases, and the soil particles carried by it get deposited on its way. These deposits can lead to the creation of riverine islands. The speed of the rivers decreases further as they go downstream. Due to the deposition of huge quantities of silt, this river split into numerous channels. These channels are called distributaries. The soil particles that flow from all the distributaries forms a delta. For example, the Ganga-Brahmaputra delta is the most important part of the northern plain. Now, we will take a closer look at the northern plains. The northern plain can be divided into three main parts, as shown over here. Starting from the top, the west part of the northern plain comes first. This part is formed by the Indus and its tributaries. The Indus and its tributaries, the Jhelum, the Chenab, the Ravi, the Beas, and the Satluj, originated from Himalayas. This river lies the fertile state of Punjab. The part of the northern plain is also called the Punjab plain. If you look at the map of India, however, you will find that the bigger portion of the Punjab plain lies at the Pakistan. Did you know the name Punjab is made up of two words, Panj and Ab. Panj means five and Ab means water. As you see, the name Punjab is based on the five rivers that drain the states. In fact, this section of the northern plains is dominated by Doab. Do means two and Ab means water. So Doab is a place of land drained by two water bodies. Let's move to the next part of the northern plain, the Ganga plain. This plain consists of the middle portion of the northern plain that lies between Ghaggar and Tista river. The Ganga plains spread over most states of North India. It covers Haryana, Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, parts of Jharkhand, and West Bengal. Finally, the eastern portion of the northern plain is called the Brahmaputra plain. This plain lies in the state of Assam. So, which states of India are covered by the northern plain? The states that are under the northern plain are Punjab, Haryana, Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, parts of Jharkhand, West Bengal, and at last Assam. The northern plain is divided into four regions: Babar, Terai, Bangar, and Khadar. Let's find out more about these regions and their features. Let's begin with the Babar region. The Babar region is a narrow belt of a leveled surface in the northern plain, lying parallel to the slopes of the Shivaliks. This region is about 8 to 16 km wide and consists of pebbles deposited by the rivers after they flow down from the mountains. Interestingly, all the streams disappear in the Babar belt. There, the level of the groundwater is very deep here. Moving south of the Babar belt, you will come to the next region, that is Terai. All streams that disappear in the Babar belts resurface in this region. The Terai regions consist of wet, swampy, and marshy land. The high water tables creates a lot of springs and wet lands in this region. You may have heard about the Dudhwa National Park. This park is located in the regions of Terai in Uttar Pradesh. Bangar is the largest part of the northern plain. Bangar is old alluvial. This region lies above the floodplains of the river. Bangar displays a terrace-like appearances. The soil in the Bangar region contains big conker nodules. So what happens to the near deposits of the floodplains? Younger deposits of the floodplains from the fourth region of the northern plains. This region is called the Khadar. The alluvial deposits of this region are renewed every year. Therefore, the land is fertile and is used extensively for agriculture. As you may know, plateaus are also called tableland. The Peninsular Plateau is also called a tableland. This tableland was formed when Gondwana land broke and its pieces drifted apart. The Gondwana land is the southern part of the ancient supercontinent Pangaea, with Angara land in the northern part. Thus, the Peninsular Plateau is a part of a very old land mass. This is also evident in the composition of the plateau. It consists of all crystalline igneous and metamorphic rock. What kind of relief would you find on a tableland? The Peninsular Plateau consists of broad, shallow valleys and rounded hills. Based on the relief, the Peninsular Plateau has two broad divisions: the Central Highlands and the Deccan Plateau. Let's check out these areas on the map. The Central Highlands refer to the portions of the Peninsular Plateau that lies to the north of the Narmada River. It covers the majority of the Malwa Plateau. The Vindhyas range forms the boundary of the Central Highlands on the south. The Aravalli Hills forms the northwestern boundaries of these highlands. The Vindhya range has a special significance because it divides India geographically into northern India or the Indo-Gangetic Plains and southern India. Moving a little west along the Vindhya range, the Peninsular Plateau gradually merges into the sandy and rocky desert of Rajasthan. Let's take a look at the rivers of these regions. They are the Chambal, the Sindh, the Betwa and the Ken. As they flow from the southwest direction to the northwest direction, they will give you a fair indications which way mountain slopes in this region. If you observe the layout of the Central Highlands of the map, the highland seemed to be wider in the west than the east. Let's move eastward in the Central Highlands. Now we move on to the other parts of the Peninsular Plateau, the Deccan Plateau. If you will observe the space of the plateau on the map, you will see that it is a triangular landmass lying to the south of the Narmada River. The broad base of this triangle is in the north and narrow tip of the triangle is in the south. The Satpura range borders this base in the north. All of the eastern side, it has the Mahadev Hills, the Kaimur Hills and the Michael range. The Deccan Plateau is higher in the west and slopes gently eastwards. In the northeast, it is an extension of the plateau called the Meghalaya and Karbi Anglong Plateau. There are three prominent hill ranges on the northeastern side of the plateau. As you move from east to west, you will see Garo Range, Khasi and Jaintia Hills. Moving southward over the Deccan Plateau, you will observe that it is bordered by the Western Ghats in the west and the Eastern Ghats on the east. If you compare the ranges on both sides of the Deccan Plateau, you will see a number of interesting differences. The Western Ghats lie parallel on the western coast. They are continuous and can be crossed only through passes. For example, Thal Ghat and the Bor Ghat passes at as link between the interiors of the Deccan Plateau and Mumbai. Another pass of the Deccan Plateau is the Pal Ghat. Gap found on the Kerala-Tamil Nadu border serves as a major communication route between the two states. The Eastern Ghats stretches from the Mahanadi Valley to the Nilgiri Hills in the south. Unlike the Western Ghats, the Eastern Ghats are discontinuous and regular. It consists of several rivers that drain into the Bay of Bengal. These rivers are the Godavari, the Mahanadi, the Krishna, and the Kaveri. Let's now compare the heights of the two ranges. The average elevation of the Western Ghat is 900 to 1600 meters. On the other hand, the Eastern Ghats have an average elevation of about 600 meters only. Thus, the Western Ghats are taller than the Eastern Ghats. The heights of the Western Ghats progressively increase from north to south. The heights of peaks include Anaimudi Hills, which is 2695 meters tall, and the Doda Beta Peak, which is 2637 meters tall. Compared to this, the highest peak in the Eastern Ghats is the Hamaindragiri Peak, which is 1501 meters tall. The Shevaroy Hills and the Javadi Hills are located to the southeast of the Eastern Ghats.